talked about trip. We've talked about shove. Grapple.
I've never grappled anybody.
Grapple's the king.
Is it really?
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I've been grappled.
So I'll say this.
Grabbed.
Some people come to Pathfinder 2nd Edition and they want that sort of MMO video game experience of being a tank.
Okay.
Right? Of being a defender. When you think about a video game or you think about an MMO and you think about a character who's a tank or a defender, what do? They prevent the enemy from moving. They prevent the enemy from attacking anybody else. And the enemies, all the damage is just siphoned into them, right? With their high armor class and their high hit points. So they sit down, they play Pathfinder 2 and they go, I want to be, a tank. Well, the problem is in Pathfinder 2, if you build your character like a tank, it's more like building your character like a real tank, right? Very heavily armored, super powerful. And the enemy is going to do everything they can do to avoid you.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like I'm talking about like a real battlefield tank, right?
Yeah,
the tank
I ain't going near that thing.
The tank isn't helping out anybody else on the troop. Hey, there's a bunch of infantry in the field as well.
Infantry, tank.
Yeah, infantry are just getting mowed down, right?
Yep.
So same thing is true. So people will go, I want to be a tank. And so what do? They put themselves in the heaviest armor possible. They give themselves a shield, okay? And what they do is they say, look at me, I'm very defensive. No, you're very protected. You're not very defensive. You're very protected. And so what that means is that you are good at defending you. The way to really control a fight, the way to really control a monster is with grapple. Because when you grapple an enemy, two things can happen. Number one, you can crit on the grapple and then you restrain the enemy. Or you can succeed at the grapple, in which case the enemy is grappled.
Is that grab too? Is that the same thing?
Grabbed.
Okay, I was like, I've been grabbed.
Yeah, grabbed, not grappled.
Yeah.
So what do those two things mean? Well, if you're grabbed, you're immobilized.
And you have to make an escape.
Okay? So right off the bat, they can't move.
Okay.
Right? But it's not like being shoved where you're like, well, they have to move. If you shove them, they have to move. Okay, great. Well, they can just do that.
Yeah.
Or they're prone. They have to stand up. They have to waste an action. You're right. They have to waste an action to stand up.
And there's no it's just easy to do.
Granted, you might smack them with an attack of opportunity, but they can just do that.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you grab them,
They have to make a check.
they have to make a check.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's an escape action.
But here's the best part. It is an escape action.
Yeah.
So an escape action can be a couple different things. It can be an acrobatics check. It can be an athletics check. It can also be your unarmed attack roll. So there might be certain characters like a monk or a fighter who might actually have a higher unarmed attack bonus than they do athletics or acrobatics. Right, acrobatics is like you twist your way free. Athletics is, you
Brute strength.
But here's the best part. This is the best part. If you make an escape check, the escape check so if you make the escape check, that's sucking up an action.
Right.
Just like standing up from prone, just like moving from shove.
Yes.
But the escape action has the attack tag.
Oh, it takes away from their multiple
They now
attack
have
penalty?
a multiple attack penalty.
I didn't know that.
That's incredibly powerful.
Right. So let's say the scenario where
man.
I think I'm getting rid of my shield here, man.
Okay, so imagine the scenario where you go up and grab someone and then they break free on their first action. So you've eaten up an action and now they move over to make an attack.
That's
now
-5.
They're -5. But even better, if they fail on that first check to break free from you,
Let's try again.
they have to try again
Multiple attack
with a
penalty.
multiple attack penalty.
So it also applies to that as a -5 for that already.
That card
Bob's going to the card.
I was like, wait a minute. I think I'm getting rid of my shield now. This sounds incredible.
It is a little bit. Bob, you got it.
well, that was looking at immobilized, right? I should be looking at
Grab.
Yeah, grab.
Yeah, you want to look at grab. I like that they don't believe me.
I just think this is ridiculous. I mean, it has the attack
Can't move.
tag.
DC 5 flat check to use. Manipulate.
By the way,
actions.
we're not even done yet. We're not even done yet with what grab does, by the way. So
I think it's
if you attempt a manipulation action while grabbed, you must succeed at a
yeah, but
DC 5
I
flat check
need
is
the
lost.
escape is the action I need to look for, right?
yeah, so on your core rule book, if you go to this
Get out your books, kids.
Get out your books, kids.
He turned to page the 335.
There'll be a pop quiz coming up after the session.
Oh my gosh.
Here we go. 470.
All right, everyone turn to page 470 that's at home.
Bob, please read along.
All right. So if you go to page 470, you'll see in the bottom left-hand corner the escape action.
Oh, it does have the attack tag.
It's the only thing. It's the only thing it does have. It's one action, and you can attempt from being grabbed, immobilized, or restrained. All right. You choose one creature, object, spell effect, or hazard, or other impediment that is imposing that condition, and then you make a check against the DC of the person that is doing it. This is typically the athletics DC of the person who is grabbing you. But it could also be the thievery DC if someone tied you up, or it could be like a spell DC, like if someone animated plants to come grab you.
Okay.
Right? You can attempt using an acrobatics or athletics check instead of your attack modifier if you choose, but it still has the attack trait.
Yeah. It looks like if they critically succeed, though, they can still stride up to 5. So basically
No, you get to stride 5 feet.
Yeah, it's not a step.
Right.
So
Which
that
means
Could provoke an action.
No.
right.
Yeah.
So if your barbarian grabs someone and then they manage to critically succeed in the escape check, and then they were like, okay, I'm going to stride 5 feet, that provokes an attack of opportunity from you.
They probably wouldn't move. They'd probably just
Swing at you.
Yeah.
yeah. But
now
they
here's-
have to waste an
right.
action to be free.
Now
Here's
here's
the
the
waste in action to be free, and they're going to have the multiple attack penalty.
That's
against-
crazy.
now, given all that, what do you think they're most likely to do?
Just attack me.
They don't get any penalty to attack you. They can just attack you straight up. So more than likely, they're just going to attack you.
But by -5, right?
Well, no, I'm saying they won't even try to break free.
They're just
Oh,
going to
that's right,
swing
that's
at
right,
you
that's
because why bother?
They are
So
gonna-
then they're grabbed and they have
They have
that's
nothing.
-2 AC. Sorry,
They have
never mind.
nothing.
They have nothing.
Yeah.
So they'll just remain grabbed and
Yep.
not move.
Correct.
So they're going to swing
Well,
away at you.
they can't move, right?
Yeah.
Because they're immobilized.
So the rest of the party can just
The rest of the
Wail
party-
on 'em.
Right, because when you're grabbed, you're also
flat-footed.
Yep.
Yep, -2.
Yep. Just like being prone.
I
Can
think I'm
you
getting rid of my shield?
you can still do attacks of opportunity though if you're grabbed?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Well, better yet, so can you.
I get that. So you couldn't do the whole if it was a big bad, you couldn't jump in and pull out. You'd still provoke that attack of opportunity, but you can't just go in at that -2 AC.
So what you're saying is like if I had them grabbed, you couldn't go in, move in, attack,
and then move out. I would still provoke it. That's what I was kind of looking at.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
yeah.
The grab action, or being grabbed makes you flat-footed, okay, and it makes you immobilized. Those are what it does.
Okay.
And then it has a second action, or a third component too. It means that anything with a manipulate trait have to make a DC 5 flat check or fail. So that means anytime anybody does any action, which has the manipulate trait, they have to roll a D20, and on a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4, that action is failed, disrupted.
So they just lose the action.
They lose the action.
So like drinking a potion
So
or
like,
something.
for example, pulling out a new weapon, drinking a potion, casting a spell. So
That's interesting.
when you grab someone, they
Especially
have
a spellcaster.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
they have a 20% chance of just straight
Failing.
missing that, right?
Now, that's a good point because if it's a spellcaster too, a lot of the spells are 2 actions.
Well, that's
Right, and then they
exactly.
lose both of them.
That's what I mean. So they basically they might not be able to cast a spell at all that for that
Oh,
round
they wouldn't
for
be
that
because
turn.
they would be down to 1 action.
Well,
that's
that's
correct.
cantrips potentially
Well, cantrips are usually 2 actions too.
You're talking about like focus spells?
or focus spells. Yes.
Now, if you go to your core rule book and you go to 622,
622.
yes, and on the
The book is monstrous.
it is on the left side. See what happens if you crit on this. If you crit, they become restrained. Now, they're still flat-footed, they're still immobilized, but they cannot use any actions with the attack trait or manipulate trait, except to attempt to escape. So if
So they can only
they can only escape.
wow.
They can't just go, you know what, I'm just going to attack you. Nope. They have to try to escape. There's nothing else that they can do.
That's awesome.
They can't even cast a spell because the spell has a manipulate trait. They can't go into their backpack and pull out an item.
So
They
you
are-
have-
And they're flat-footed.
And they're still flat-footed and they're still immobilized.
so you
They are just locked down.
so that's
to
if they
restrain
crit
someone.
fail.
What's that?
You said that's if they crit
That's if you critically succeed
on the grapple
when you
check.
grapple them.
Or when you
So
grapple
that's
them.
when you would restrain them.
Then they are restrained.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Very, very,
OP.
very powerful, right?
Well, it's interesting, but you do have to get in and be able to use it against them, right? So that's
Now
That's
the key
against-
is there are, to the best of my knowledge, someone can correct me. I don't think there are any weapons that have the grapple trait, right?
I would find that very hard to believe that something
So-
would have that kind of ability as a
Right.
weapon.
So the only way that you can grapple someone is to basically have a hand free. Now,
What's the you can just do it? What did we say the check was for grappling?
It's an athletics check using your athletics.
Okay.
And it is against their fortitude.
They're
DC.
fort. Okay, they're fort.
Which means that, going against a big bad, like a big tough guy could be tough, but against anybody else,
A spellcaster.
a spellcaster, a quick little nimble creature, right? I mean,
I'll say, because if not, you failed and you're like right next to them.
Oh yeah, you're in trouble.
but I will also say too that, this is the other cool part about it. The grapple lasts until the end of your next turn.
You have to re-up it?
You have to re-up it, but you don't have to make the check again.
Oh, you just say I'm doing it?
You just spend one action to just keep the grab.
To keep them restrained or keep them
restrained.
pinned.
Okay.
Wow.
Now, also grapple can only be used against creatures that are one size category larger than you. So you can only use it as a medium creature against large creatures.
So you can't grapple a dragon, but you could trip that boy.
But you can.
Wait, what?
You can.
If I'm enlarged?
No, well, that would work.
well,
for sure.
absolutely, yeah.
No, but there are feats.
Oh, okay.
Where you can just grapple
but
and do it
normally,
anyways.
if I'm a medium creature, I'm probably not.
Well, right, but it's a skill feat. It's called Titan Wrestler.
Yes.
I looked at
was
that
thinking
thing,
about taking that
and
too.
I was like, "There's no way I'm ever using this thing."
Right. Because to answer your question,
But I always have two.
you
hands
can't
in my
trip
weapon.
a creature that's one size larger or more than one size larger than you. You can't shove a creature that is more than
Oh, I
one
thought you
size
could
larger.
trip.
Nope. You can't trip, shove, or grapple. But if you have Titan Wrestler, you can do all three.
Whoa.
Wow. And it's a skill feat.
so anybody
Right?
can really
so
take it.
it's not like your class feat.
Okay, so
Right.
it is restrained. So I misspoke.
It is just a skill feat.
Yeah.
Think about what you've taken with your skill feat.
No, I thought about taking that at one point, and we discussed that I'm never taking my hands off my
I
weapon.
think
so.
I'm going to
But-
be retraining my character here
But,
shortly.
but wait, we're not even done yet. We're not even done yet.
But wait, there's more.
I know this video's going long. But here's the thing. When you grapple them, they become flat-footed.
Yeah.
To you too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And technically, by the way, also you do have to, you have to continue to have
That hand on 'em.
That hand on them. Yes. There is, interestingly though, there's like a fighter feat that lets them like quickly go like, ha ha, attack somebody and then get rid of it.
The fighter
grab
don't need
them.
anything else.
Yeah. I mean, there's some question about it, like you need a free hand to initiate the grapple, but then it doesn't really specify whether or not you need to keep a hand on them.
So basically, you almost got them in the ground and pound in UFC, and you just post up and just start hammering at them.
Like, so in order to grapple, you have to have one hand free. But
Yeah.
then once you've done that, they are grappled.
Yeah.
They have that condition. And it lasts until the end of your next turn.
Which means you could take your hand, hit
so-
them, and
so
then
you-
open your hand up again.
So you could, you could grapple someone, they're
Yeah.
grappled, and then take your second action to put a hand on your
Your maul.
maul, and then your third action to smash them. And I think, per the rules of the game, they are still grappled.
All right. Well,
Now-
if not, someone
now-
correct us on
Now,
that.
obviously, that might be rules as written. I don't think that's rules as intended, but it does seem to be that way.
Now, when you re-up it though for the next turn, so
you
if
gotta
you
have it free.
well, no, when you successfully grappled them,
Yes.
your next turn, you want to basically say, I take that action to re-up them. To your point, I'm going to take a hand, take my second action to put it on, for Aziz to put on his maul, and then swing. You would still accrue the multiple attack penalty on that, correct?
Yeah, because it does have the attack track.
Okay.
Yep,
so
that's
even
correct.
re-upping
Okay.
it is still going to cause you to have an...
Because it still is an attack track.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, that's what I wanted
That's
to make
good
sure.
to know. That's good to clarify.
Yeah, but the key thing here is that the restrained condition basically makes it so that they can't do anything but try to escape. And then,
That's ridiculous.
But then wouldn't it be better than to attack first? You don't have the multiple attack penalty on your attack,
But are you going to be able to grab them? You get -5.
then you get a -5.
but it's till the end. Oh yeah.
yeah, it's the same
Well-
thing as shoving or tripping.
But you don't have to do a check though.
No, you do.
You do. It's
Oh, you
against
still
their
have to
fort.
do-
It's against
okay,
their
okay.
fort.
It's
Yeah.
still against their fort. You still have to, So on the next round, if they're grabbed and you want to keep them grabbed, you have to spend an action, make another grapple check, and
Okay.
succeed. In that case, it just keeps peeling out. Now, what?
All right, that's
what
different than
yeah,
mine.
yeah. Also, if you move at all, it breaks the grapple. I should also note that.
That makes sense.
The point, as Nick, you've been saying throughout this thing, the point is, if you want to be a tank in the sense of I'm really defensive, I'm heavily armored, no one can mess with me, then you want to go with the full armor and the shield and all the blocks.
but not the shield.
But if you want to be, if you want to like control the battlefield and kind of decide where the monsters go and who they attack, you kind of want a hand free.
Yeah,
It's interesting.
Because you want to be able to grapple.
Yeah, I might be putting my shield away a lot more for
I think
some of these.
Well, I think you'd feel more exciting and involved in the fight.
Well,
if you were in there messing around with them.
It's more controlled. To his point, I have the highest AC out of our entire group.
Right.
So if they come and swing at me,
Even without your shield.
Yeah, even without your
that's
shield.
what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Even without my
ridiculous with your
shield, it's that much more powerful. And I still have retributive strike and things like that to also still aid the party in defense. And that whole, yes, I understand I have range retribution as well. That gives me the allowance to take a step to do that. But I'm literally going to be holding on to them.
Right.
Hopefully.
I don't have to get anywhere.
You have to pass that fort save.
Yes. Well, that's the thing is it depends on who would be fighting against. So if it's that big brute ogre leader,
it ain't exactly easy.
But but against that creature, that's when you're fighting one creature, you're outnumbering them 4-1.
Yeah, I get it.
You have some advantages, anyways.
right?
So that is grapple, and I hate to say it, we'll get to disarm. That's the last one in a minute. But the only problem that I have with grapple and trip is that, and by the way, for anyone who says shouldn't a character have a shield? I mean, that's what you see in artwork. People have shields, right? You see that thing. But think about some of your favorite characters from fiction.
The best defense is a good offense.
No, think about Aragorn. He didn't
shield.
wield. No shield. He didn't wield. He didn't dual wield. He didn't have a great sword. He just had a one-handed sword.
Yep.
And he didn't have
Gimli?
he wasn't dual wielding, right? Gimli had an axe,
Love it. That's
sure.
my boy.
Boromir had a shield. That was sort of his thing. And he was kind of a selfish character. So
Well, it makes sense.
I'm just saying. And
Selfish.
if you've ever seen Willow, right? Mad Mardigan, he didn't have a shield. He just had one sword, right? So there is
what do you need a shield for if you beat him up with your big giant maul?
Well, I guess that's true. Well, and I would also add this. If you have a shield, which is strapped to you, you are in a bit of a pickle because there's not a whole lot you can do there. And if you're dual wielding, it can also be a little awkward. If you are wielding a weapon that is two-handed, there is always the option to just take a hand off.
Yeah.
That's free.
It does less damage, right?
No, you can't attack it with it at
can't
all.
attack.
Oh,
I'm saying-
what's the bastard sword?
Yes, the
You could do that one with one hand
the
or
bastard
two.
sword can be one-handed at D8 or two-handed at
That's what I was
D12.
thinking of.
But with
Gore had that.
in your case, with a maul, you could just let go of your hand for one action, for free action, and then grab somebody with their best attack. Now, you won't be able to hit them, but if it's that or that creature's going to go kill Burl
and you can't
or
shove
Goldor.
if I don't have both hands on
Actually,
mine.
no, you
can shove.
Now you have one hand.
You have one
free.
hand.
I can
All you
shove
need is
with
one
my
hand free.
I don't
Yes.
need to worry about that.
So imagine a
maul.
scenario where, I don't know, imagine this. You trip someone and then grapple them. Now, if they take an action and succeed.
They're -2 on their reflex, aren't they?
No.
Or they're minus if they're tripped.
Are they?
If they're prone, aren't they minus on their...
I do not have the deck of all the
sorry.
status effects in front of me. The answer is no.
Oh, it's just attack rolls. Sorry.
Yes.
That's what I was thinking of.
But if you trip them and or maybe one of your allies trips them, which by the way, then you get in there and you grapple them. If they escape, which is an action,
They have to take
still
another action to stand up.
And now they have one action left.
Wow.
And they're still standing right in front of you because they haven't moved yet. And they have a -5 map.
Because they already used the
They use
attack.
They use an attack to escape. Yeah. So
Grapple is overpowered.
Well, it's definitely not overpowered, but it is a definitely useful skill that we do not use.
You do not use, and it is very useful. It is, and so what I was going to go with,
especially controlling the battlefield and tactical advantage here.
It's all about
geez
controlling
Louise.
Now, what I will say is the unfortunate part is, it does not create. When we think of cinematic fantasy battle, right? We think of our shining knights going into combat against the evil villain, and it's sword against sword, and it's a duel to the death, and the characters are flipping in with their, it's like the animated intro to Critical Role, and people are flipping in. Now what your combat might end up being is your character walks up and puts the enemy in a headlock, trips him, sits on him on the ground.
Guys, I'm sitting on him.
While the rest of the party goes and just takes cheap shots at him while he can't move.
Yeah.
It does.
Theater of the mind. That's why it's there.
Yeah, it does.
But it just takes away from the movie quality of it.
Yeah, it takes away from the movie quality of it, right? Your character, just grappling the monster and sitting on them and tripping them. And now, like, think about what
It
that would
sounds
look
boring,
like
but if I win, I guess I'm happy too.
I mean, that's kind of right. So
You can have fun RPG in the wilderness.
But just
Explorer
keep in
mode.
mind, though, you would also potentially be in the range of other spells. I know you got lit up in one of our APs with one of Burl's fireballs because you were just so close.
If
So-
they're it's a risk you take.
You're not in the same thing. But so as much as we've talked about grapple being really, really powerful, and we talked about shove and trip, disarm is kind of useless.
Oh, bummer.
Here's the thing. It's against their reflex, right? So you have 2 that go against fortitude, which is shove and grapple. And then you have 2 that go against reflex, which is trip and disarm. None go against will because that wouldn't make any sort of sense. But disarm is pretty cool. It's actually really powerful. And in first edition Pathfinder, it was really, really powerful. You make an athletics check against their reflex save, and it knocks the weapon out of their hand. So not only do they have to take an action to get their weapon back, but think about a situation where one of your party members steals their weapon. Like, how effective would Azius be without his maul?
I wouldn't be there.
Right.
Well, I mean, I would.
But here's the problem. You only actually disarm them if you crit.
Oh, so what does the success
What's
do?
the success do?
The success is their grasp on the item is weakened. You attempt to disarm the opponent, get a +2 circumstance bonus, and the target takes a -2 circumstance penalty to attacks, which is pretty cool, until the start of that creature's turn.
So they're going to get basically another, they just kind of adjust their grip
So
and get it
again,
back.
attack of opportunity would help against that kind
That's
of
correct.
stuff. Okay.
Yes. So it would give them a -2 penalty to, because if it was, I succeeded, but it didn't knock it out of their hand, but it's messed up their grasp. And so on their turn, they either have to get up, and this is what I thought it was when I first played Pathfinder. The way I thought it worked was if you crit, you knock it out of their hand, that's great. And that is very powerful, and I'm glad that it is.
That's ridiculous.
But in line with the other abilities, which are more about like messing them up defensively because it makes them flat-footed, but it doesn't really do anything to their attack roll. Disarm, I thought would be cool was, okay, so I didn't crit, I succeeded. They get a -2 penalty to their attack rolls. I thought it was because their grasp is all messed up until or unless they spend one action to regrab it, which is already a rule in the game. And so now the monster has a choice, or the creature has a choice. I could just ignore this completely and just keep attacking with a -2 penalty, kind of like attacking from the ground when you're prone.
I think I see where this is
or
going.
I could spend one action and regrab it.
But it's free.
But it doesn't do that. It's not even an action. It just happens automatically at the start of their turn.
That's what I figured.
The penalty goes away.
So unless you crit success, it's not even really worth it.
I mean, crit success is ridiculous, and then it's like success is, but I mean that's still fine. I mean, there's other things I'd rather do.
Yeah. I would say this. I don't think it's crazy as a house rule, for a GM to say what we just described. That if someone succeeds at the disarm check, it does not disarm them, but it does mess up their grasp on the weapon.
And
they have a -2 circumstance penalty to attack, just like if they were prone, and just like being prone, all they have to do is spend one action to sort of fix their grip, and then the penalty goes away. Or they could completely ignore it and they continue to suffer the penalty just like being prone. Yeah. And that would put it much more in line with a lot of these other powers, which are very, very strong.
I agree.
But as written, it is a little bit weak.
Now, I will say, I would like you to clarify one thing or help out with one thing, which I think goes with all 4 of these things, is the assured athletics thing, because this was something that I learned and then I still get confused of sometimes.
Yeah.
But this was a way to avoid the multiple attack penalty.
Correct. So this is sort of a bonus tip. This is sort of a well-known hack, I guess, of the system, which apparently which apparently is legal. So there is a feat, which is it's not a class feat. It's a
general feat or a skill feat.
It's a skill feat. It is called Assurance. And what this lets you do is it's at page 258 of your core rulebook. And what it's supposed to be done is like basically, if you're in a situation, your character is so assured with their skill, you don't need to roll. You just get a static number. Okay? You just get a static number. That way you're like, okay, because think about it. Like when you sit down to do something, you're not like, okay, well, there's a 5% chance I'm going to blow up my car when I change my oil, right? No, like you have assurance athletics, like you're going to succeed. And so what the assurance feat does is instead of rolling a check, okay, you just get 10 plus your proficiency modifier. And it says you do not apply any other bonuses, modifiers, or penalties.
And that's the big one.
So what that means is no other bonuses. You don't get to add your strength.
Correct.
You don't get to add your magical items.
No dice roll.
Right? No bonuses.
Yep.
Right? No modifiers. You just get 10 plus your proficiency bonus. What's your proficiency bonus, right? It's level plus 2 or level plus 4 or level plus 6, right? Depending on what you have.
Yeah, I think I was 13.
Okay. But it also says no penalties.
Yep.
And multiple attack penalty is a penalty. So what that means is even if your multiple attack penalty is maxed out at -10,
it doesn't apply.
It doesn't apply.
That's huge.
Yeah. So I used this with that guy when I shoved him into the chipper. I was like, well, I'll just use Assured Athletics. I was going to be a -10 swing. I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. If I just tried to shove him naturally, it'd be -10 as well. But now I just get a 10. Now the problem is I don't get to roll and add that check because I could crit or do something crazy. But no, I just got 10 plus my
so as
modifier,
an example,
which succeeded.
Right. So as an example, you're level 7. You're level 9.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that your athletics is master level, which is +6. So it's 9 plus 6. So it's
15.
15.
I don't think it can be.
How's that?
I think only can go to expert until
I thought level 7 is when you can become master.
X.
Yeah, it's master. It's level 7.
Oh,
It is. So at level 9, you could be, or level 7, you could have been a master. So you're level 9. So your athletics could be master, and that would be 6 plus 9 is 15.
Plus the 10.
So if you had insurance, it's just 25. Now it's black and white, right? If their DC, if their save is better than 25, you won't succeed ever
so
by using insurance.
So you should roll for it all the time.
No,
or you can't roll for it.
Assurances can't roll for
You can't roll.
No, I mean like you shouldn't use the athletic assurance.
No, because what if their save was only 24?
So you need to know what that check is.
Which you could perform with a recall
You could
knowledge.
That's what I was getting at.
Or you could just try.
Well, and that's what I did. I was like, look, it's -10 to my roll, or I can just take this flat thing and hope for the best.
Hope for the best.
But what it does give you the option to do is attack. And this is, I think it's more useful when you're fighting more opponents who are closer to your level or under your level. Because if you know that opponent probably has like I'll give you an example. Let's say you're fighting these ogres. Mm-hmm. You probably know that there's more of them than there are of you. So they're weaker than you. So their saves probably aren't as good. And reflex might not be their best part. You could probably assume that their reflex might be +8, 9, 10, 11. That means the DC is 18, 19, 20, 21.
And you're at 25.
And you're at 25
so you know you're going to win every time.
You know you're going to win every time. Right. So you could attack, and then with that third action, which is -10, say, I grapple him, I use assurance, succeed.
Game, set,
or trip him, succeed.
Right.
And that can be very powerful. And because it's assurance, it applies to all the things with athletics.
Yep.
If you know you're high enough, you could go, I attack him with my highest attack bonus. All right, my multiple attack penalty is now -5. With assurance, I'm going to trip him.
Yep.
Then with assurance, my third action, I'm going to grapple him.
Yep.
And those just work, no check.
There's nothing they can do about it. Yeah.
And there's nothing they can do about it.
But you got to know.
You can't roll in that one if you don't roll the dice.
That's correct. That's correct. You also can't roll the nat 20, as Bob was saying. You can't get the restrain. But it can be a very powerful thing. It can really open up what you can do with that third action.
Well,
because now suddenly having a -10 map does not matter as much.
Now, that's a great point, though. So you just mentioned, well, you can't get the restrained. But if their check was low enough, so if you had 25 as your assurance, and if they had 15, you would critically succeed.
Nick is quite right. So a good example.
I didn't think about that.
I'm just saying.
No. So the ogres you guys just fought last time had a reflex of 8,
so
which means
18.
that DC 18. But let's say they were frightened 3. Their DC would be 15.
You would crit success.
And so you would crit succeed with your assurance.
Wow.
Yeah, you're correct. Yeah, that's actually
pretty cool.
That is a very unique set of
I don't expect that to happen. I bet you it'd be like by a couple of point difference, but
it can be a very powerful way to turn this feat or turn these skill actions up to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's assurance, it's a skill feat, so it's not really
one too, isn't it?
It's just one feat. And it doesn't have any you need to be trained in the skill that you're taking it.
Which is what you would be doing.
Which you would be doing anyways. So using assurance can get you around the multiple. Now, granted, like I said, you don't get to add any of your bonuses. So as your strength gets higher and higher, this actually gets a little bit weaker.
Correct.
Right? Because at the beginning of the game, your strength is contributing 4 points to your check. But towards the end of the game, your strength might be contributing 6 or 7 points to your check, and you don't get any of that.
Right.
So, that can stink. But and there's also items that you can take that you wear on your item, you invest them, and they give you a bonus to your athletics check. The same way that you have magical runes that can improve your weapons, there are magical items that can improve your athletics check. And so that can give you
lifting belt, I think is what I wear.
I think it's called a lifting belt.
I have one on me.
Yeah. And so that would give you magical bonus to your athletics, which will allow you to hit those, higher level creatures' reflex DCs and those higher level creatures' fort DCs so that you can hit them with the trip or hit them with the grapple.
Yep.
So that is, it's 4 tips for each of the 4 uses of athletics, plus a bonus tip for assurance. This is like the meat and potatoes of the sort of really tactical part of Pathfinder 2, is controlling those actions, inflicting penalties. And you could see a scenario where if a controlling defender trips someone and then puts a grapple on them, and then another character comes in and hits them with a demoralize. Now that guy's at -4 penalty to all of his actions, including trying to escape, which means he's more likely to be escaped, which means he cannot get out. His AC is lowered. Everyone is just focus firing him and just lighting him up, and he doesn't have any options. If he tries to escape, he's at a huge penalty. He's going to waste a bunch of actions, or he can just throw his attacks at the party member that you want him to be throwing his attacks at.
Love it.
I'm going to be dropping my shield and grabbing a lot more enemies now.
So it's very powerful. And of course, all the big downside is you have to have a hand free. Now, there are some weapons that let you do some parts of athletics. There are some weapons that let you trip. There are some weapons that let you shove.
Yep.
The monk, different stances let you do different actions. Danny used to have the wolf
drag.
Wolf drag.
Well, the wolf jaw stance.
Oh, yes.
And that gave his, even though he was in a monk stance, it gave them that, he could trip people with it. So, there's all sorts of whips and stuff can trip people and stuff. So, but the surest and easiest way to do it is to have that hand free.
Gotcha.